Okay, Juris. So, what's up, everybody? I wanted to talk about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson before um, her confirmation vote tomorrow and before the U.S. Senate. Quite frankly, I think that she will be confirmed as 116th justice to the Supreme Court. I think it's going to be a very tight vote, and I do think that it's going to come down to the vice president being the tie-breaking vote. So let's go over um, her qualifications. Of course, we all know that she's extremely qualified. She's been a law clerk three times on three different levels between it was on the federal court and appeals court, and then the Supreme Court of the United States to Justice Stephen Breyer. As we all know, she's also been a law clerk to both Democrat and Republican judges and judges appointed by both parties. She's been a federal public defender, where yes, she has defended people in Guantanamo Bay, but quite frankly, as a public defender, you don't get to choose who will be your clients. You have to just present the best argument and do the best job. She has been confirmed three times before, or twice before, I'm sorry, before this US Senate, once before the US Sentencing Commission, and I think twice as a judge on um, the DC District Court and then the DC Court of Appeals. I think that's right. And so this will be her third or fourth time going for Senate confirmation. I do think that while we are talking about, her background and everything else, we do have to mention that she is by far one of the most qualified people to have come before the U.S. Senate and be presented as a Supreme Court nominee, and that's on the basis of her experience as clerking on all of these levels, in addition to her experience in public and private practice, and then on rulemaking committees such as the U.S. Sentencing Commission, and then at her experience as a judge, where she's heard many different types of cases. Now, I personally disagree with. Um, I think that I think that Joe Biden could have picked a nominee who came from a public law school, such as Judge Michelle Childs from South Carolina. I think that would have been more representative of where we are as a country right now. But hey, um, he picked an equally as qualified person. And so, equally as qualified person, I also think that it was wrong, in my opinion, that he solely excluded his his nomination process by to saying, oh, "Okay, I'm only going to pick a black woman." Look, quite frankly, you could have said, "Hey, I'm going to pick the best possible person for this role," and then that been it would have been her if that was something that you had all along. Now, the way her name got caught up in the mix is that there's a group out there called Demand Justice who already had a list of candidates of who they would like to see on this expanded Supreme Court, this reformed Supreme Court idea that they want to put through. She was just one of the names on there, and she was one of two or three black women whose name was on that list out of 15 candidates that Demand Justice, which is a judicial lobbying and advocacy group that they put forward. And that's what, when you had all the Republican senators talking about, oh, dark money, though that was the primary group that they were talking about. And whether they engage in dark money or not, I'm not getting into that. What I am going to say is that they advocate for a diversified Supreme Court and an expanded Supreme Court, as in add more seats, which is an idea that has been around since maybe the 1930s with FDR. And so they're not proposing anything new. When it all came down and Stephen Breyer was retiring, et cetera, Judge Brown Jackson's name was put forward, and I do believe that Joe Biden probably vetted all, or his team vetted all of the possible candidates to put forward based on the superficial criteria that he put forward of saying, "Hey, I just want a black woman," and he probably looked at the list of different advocacy groups, as I'll show in the next slide. He wanted somebody who's been through this process before, probably somebody with a public defender background because he was once a public defender, and someone who was also very qualified. And all of those qualities can be found in Judge Brown Jackson's background. Now, what I will also say is that as a um, future attorney myself and current law student, I do think that it's awesome to see someone like Judge Brown Jackson's name get put forward. I do think that in her confirmation hearing, she did have some. While she answered most of the questions superbly, she did have some pitfalls, such as when she was asked straightforward, "What's a woman?" She could have blatantly had answered that, and just like, okay, this is what a woman is. I think by trying to dodge that question, it was like, okay, really, lady? But beyond that, I mean, the hearings, her confirmation hearings range from the asinine and ridiculous to, some moments that you kind of felt that were like, dang, I feel that. And so while we're on that point, when you're talking about the dang, I feel that, I'm talking about Cory Booker and his whole, where he spent 10 minutes just praising her, which is great. And I feel everything that he's saying. Quite frankly, it's a concept of going from the streets to the suites, right? And when you are one of the only Black folk who get to this new arena or area of life, etc., and then you see that, all right, hey, late at night, when I'm leaving the law school and I go to a predominantly Black university with a predominantly white law school, when I stay late and uh, everything else, I see that, well, first off, during the day, most of my classmates are white, but when I stay late, um, the staff cleaning the building are all Black. And you kind of think, oh, wow. And they just keep telling me to keep pushing forward. And that's what Cory Booker was talking about. Now, you'll also have the kind of ridiculous of the whole critical race theory talk, et cetera. And what has been put forward as critical race theory is not truly what it is or what's being taught to a degree, such as like Abraham Kendi's book that Ted Cruz was pushing forward. He was just doing a whole bunch of red meat for his base and for the people in the states that are holding elections. And I'll touch on that bit as well. But I mean, that stuff is all ridiculous. And so I'm glad that there are people like Ben Sass from, I think, Nebraska, the senator from Nebraska, who had a more level head on that whole situation. Okay. And so moving forward, there are endorsements. She has endorsements from groups from different labor unions, such as the largest police labor union, the Fraternal Order of Police, or the AFL-CIO, and ASME, and all these different major groups that support her in her nomination. And so I think ultimately she will be confirmed on the slimmest of margins. And why do I say on the slimmest of margins? Because 2022 is a senatorial or election year, whatever. And so here are all of the seats that are currently up for election, that are going through a race right now, and who currently is sitting in the seat. But in Georgia, I think this is the most current map. But Georgia is the one that is no. Yeah, I think this is the current map. Georgia is going to be a tight race. Yeah, so here is the outcome according to Real Clear Politics. And you got to think about this. All of these people right here in the middle, they're going to be they're either running for reelection or they're going to be fighting for their seat, or they are going to be trying to maintain that seat for the party. And so they are going to be thinking, okay, I can either be part of this legacy or I can fight the legacy and, get another candidate. Either way, Biden is going to have a nominee there because he's not going to be up for reelection for a couple of a couple of years, and I don't think he's going to run for reelection. But that being said, you can pretty much count that all of these will be votes in the affirmative for her. Also, the people who are in the swing states that are Democrats are most likely are going to be votes in the affirmative for her. Why? Because they want to be a part of that history as well. These are the votes that these are the votes that you're going to have to really think about. And then also, Senator Murkowski is in a tough primary race against a Trump nominee. And so she's going to really be thinking about, do I really want to do that? And do I want to fire up the Trump base against her? Because right now she's running pretty much against of all Trump's name, etc. So I mean, it's going to be tough. And so I think let's see. I also have a map. This is how I think the Senate race is going to play out, and pretty much the seats such as Pennsylvania, where you have outgoing senators, they're probably going to say, "Hey, yes, I'm going to vote." And outgoing Republicans, they're probably going to say, "Yes, I'm going to vote in the affirmative for her," because at the end of the day, she's qualified and they're leaving. So they're like, "Okay, whatever. We're going to go ahead and vote for her." And so, and I think I have one more. Nope, I think that's it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, guys, I think that the vote in favor of her is probably going to come down to a 50-49, or maybe um, 50, it's probably going to be 50-49, or literally like a 49-48. I really don't know who would be the abstaining vote in this, but I do know there is one senator who I think is still out, Ben Ray Lujan, um, who's out due to health conditions. So it's really going to come down to the slimmest of margins. But see, the politicization of the Supreme Court has always been happening pretty much since the 2000 election, where literally the Supreme Court decided the outcome of an election. It was based on pretty much a flawed argument from one campaign against the other, of course. But um, I think that since 2000, and I would even stretch back to the Clarence Thomas uh, nomination, Supreme Court seats have always had really slim. Um, they've had really slim votes in the affirmative or whatever, and so you see that with Clarence Thomas, you see that with Samuel Alito, you see that with even when you get up to Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, they get really slim in majorities in order to get their seat. Now you had the case of John Roberts, who was extremely qualified as well. And in fact, he was the most popular nominee at the time. Well, guess who else is one of the most popular nominees according to Fox News? That would be Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who I do think will be ultimately confirmed as Justice Brown Jackson. And so, guys, that is today's show. Thank you so much for tuning into the Black Jurist. Hopefully, I'll get time tomorrow to actually see if my prediction that she will be confirmed and will be confirmed in a slim majority. Um, I'll get time to do a video reacting to that vote. Thanks.